Hello, and welcome to Caveman Science. To start off this great science adventure, we need to start at the beginning and ask the hard question that has been tearing the science community in half. Science versus creation. What side is actually right? While we may never know the true answer to this long-debated question, there are some misconceptions that need to be addressed about this topic. To do that, we're going to have to dip very deep into the past, 223,000 BC to be exact, and tread into the beginning of theology. Now, I know theology is not by definition in the realm of science, but to do my job accurately on this topic, it's very necessary. Now, by no means am I biased to only one side of this debate. Being raised Catholic and attending a Catholic school until I went to high school, I have a vast knowledge from the creationist side. But after my time in the military, I learned a great lesson that made me rethink my previous ways. If God created humans in his own image, then God is not the perfect being he's made out to be. But enough of my life history. Let's get back to the topic at hand. First, we need to address the word religion. Earliest recorded history on the word shows its first definition by a man named Cicero, a Roman orator, which is a skilled public speaker. He defined the original word religio, meaning restraint, to repeat, or to read again. He also used the phrase religionum to show respect for what is sacred, an organized system of beliefs and practices revolving around or leading to a transcendent spiritual experience. This is very far out from our current beliefs of religion today, considering there is one called Pastafarianism, that literally means Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. Yes, it's a real religion. They even have a Bible. Soldiers are even allowed to have FSM on their dog tags as their religion. So why are we starting in 223,000 BC? This is the first time in recorded history that humanoids began to perform burial rituals for the dead. At the time, it wasn't that sophisticated. They began to show compassion for their lost ones by marking their graves with limestone blocks. And although there is no clear information on how it actually started, this began a time where humans were searching for answers to their origins. This grew into a number of very bizarre rituals, from defleshing to bones being stained with red clay pigments. Sometime around 9,800 BC, the first population explosion began. The first cities, states, and kingdoms began to emerge, bringing the birth of religion. The early states were usually theocracies, states ruled by God or gods. The first reported major religion was the beginning of the first Sangam period in South India, which reportedly lasted for 4,440 years. That's almost 1,000 years older than Christianity is today. Between 9,000 BC to today, over 4,000 religions have formed around the world, believing in either one god or multiple gods. In reality, there is no possible way to define what religion is actually accurate in the creation of humans. And more or less, religion was most likely created to give humans a spiritual connection to someone or something, since our existence at the time had absolutely no meaning, and they were just searching for answers. Now that we have a clear understanding of what religion is and how it originated, let's get back to the original topic. Now, there are three key points that I have identified that should summarize the beliefs of both sides of the argument. The first one, the universe was suddenly created. Now, there's something that both sides can surprisingly agree on. Creationists say everything was just poofed in by God during the 6 days of creation. And scientists believe that there was nothing that exploded into everything. Yeah. So, what I have gathered from this is that neither side actually knows what happened, and will probably never will for a very long time. Personally, I believe this is one of the great mysteries that should just be left alone for the time being. We need to focus less on how we got here, and more on how we can thrive and expand on humanity. The second key point. How old is the Earth? Scientists believe through uranium-lead isotope dating that the Earth is roughly 4.5 billion years old. Creationists believe that the Earth is only about 6,000 years old, according to dating from the Bible. Considering the evidence we have gathered over the past few hundred years about our ancient human history, I find it hard to believe that the Earth is only 6,000 years old. This brings me to an argument I remember hearing on the Bill Nye versus Ken Ham debate in 2014. When Bill Nye noted that there was a tree in Sweden that was older than Ken Ham's Earth, Ham stated, quote, "We didn't see those tree rings actually forming. We didn't see those layers being laid down. You're assuming things in regard to the past that aren't necessarily true." End quote. Well, Ken Ham, I didn't see God lay down the universe, so that also must not be true. Ken Ham did bring up a valid point about science dating. There are really only two used by modern science: carbon dating and radioactive decay dating. Carbon dating is a method used to date materials that once exchanged carbon dioxide with the atmosphere. In other words, things that were living. Radioactive decay is the spontaneous transformation of an unstable atomic nucleus into a lighter one, in which radiation is released in the form of alpha particles, beta particles, gamma rays, and other particles. In other words, things that were not alive. While both methods are fairly sound, there has been almost no research to find other ways to date objects. It's like science just settled with these methods because they worked most of the time. In other words, science got lazy. The third main key point: where did humans come from? This question is up for debate no matter what side you're on. Creationists say that God created humans somewhere around 6,000 years ago. When God created everything, he just had to speak and it was there. But when he wanted to create humans, he made the first one out of dust. This could be seen as an ancient misconception. When humans decompose, they turn into dust and bones, and eventually just dust remains. Now imagine yourself as an ancient human. Seeing another human who has been dead for a long time is now nothing more than a pile of dust. One would believe that we were formed from dust, then once we die, we go back to dust. Now scientists believe in an evolution chain, where we evolved over billions of years from a single cell organism to a now sentient being who controls an entire planet. While this seems very plausible since science believes the Earth is over 4 billion years old, there is nothing to say that this is completely accurate. While there are a few theories of how this could happen, the most notable one would be Darwin's theory, which says we evolved from monkeys. While I don't agree with this theory at all, let's just save that for another episode. The point I'm trying to make on this: no matter what you believe in, whether it's science or creation, don't just go off what's been passed down to us. Information that is passed down from generation to generation is like playing a very long game of telephone. Information is going to get twisted, rewritten, translated incorrectly, and more than likely nowhere near what its original intent was supposed to be. While religious texts may try to explain what happened in the beginning, it's most likely not even close to being accurate. So take it with extreme caution and keep an open mind, because that's what science is about. We live in a time where we can communicate with anyone instantly. So why waste it trying to figure out how we came to be, or if there's some supreme leader in the cosmos? We are in charge of our own lives, not someone who refuses to show themselves to us, but claims to love all his children on earth. Religion is nothing more than something we created to give us a spiritual connection to where we came from. It was good at the time to get humanity off the ground, but it's not practical in today's life. So now that our theology lesson is out of the way, I remember saying something about Darwin, thinking we came from monkeys. Well, Darwin, you're about to be my first victim. You have officially been slapped by the dueling glove of science, because next week, I'm going to take your theory back to the Stone Age. Until next time we meet, science on, Internet.